I'm doing another book haul, you guys. Don't judge me. Alright, so this is officially the last book haul that I will be doing before I go on a fairly, hopefully lengthy book buying ban. Book collecting is something that I love, and it's always really exciting to me to see some new books arrive, and I'm going to put that on hold for a little bit here as I'm starting to A, save up for my book launch later this year, which is kind of important, and B, I really want to give time to the books that I have because I've been so excited about all of them that I really want to not bring in any other distractions from all of the beautiful books that are waiting for me on my shelves. I'm gonna go through these piles because I have a bunch of them and I'm super excited to share these with you guys. I've got some gems in here and one that I have not opened because the packaging is so fantastic. One of the first books that I purchased that I am incredibly excited about, I mentioned this on my Bucket List Classics video, which I will link up in the cards. I think that's the right direction. And that is the Memoirs of Lady Hyekyung, translated by Jaehyun Kim Habush. This is the memoirs written by a Korean courtesan, I believe back in the Joseon period, not sure. But in any case, it is a classic in Korea, and I am very excited to read this because I am really committed to expanding my classic reading to different places throughout the world to see what classics exist beyond the Western borders, and I'm very excited to add this to my collection. This was a book that was actually fairly expensive wherever I was seeing it, and I found a great deal on it. So one of the things that's really cool about this is the guy that I bought it from on Pango Books, and I cannot for the life of me remember his name. I will try to remember to link him in the description. He includes a bookmark with each book that he sells off of his store, and there's a little like, want to see what I thought? You can scan this on your phone and see like his thoughts on the book that you bought from him, which I think is really cool. Next up is a historical fiction recommendation that I have been recommended a couple of times now, most recently by my friend Chris over at The Real Bookaholic. I will link his channel down below as well. He's an amazing booktuber. I've really been intrigued by reading accounts of Japanese Americans during World War II, and he highly recommended Snow Falling on Cedars by David Gutterson. I have heard about this book. I have been super excited to read this, and it's definitely still in that same historical vein of Japanese Americans and what they went through during the World War II, which was horrific. I really am excited because the only other things that I've read from this kind of category are middle grade YA. So I'm really looking forward into delving into an adult historical fiction on this topic. Next up, I picked up a tiny classic, and that is The Death of Ivan Ilyich by Leo Tolstoy. I have never read anything by Tolstoy, and I had read something by Dostoevsky in 2022, Notes from Underground, and I thought, you know what, I gave Dostoevsky a try, I might as well give Mr. Tolstoy a try. I think I can handle it. I'm definitely not in the mood for any of the massive Russian novels at this point in my life, but it is kind of nice to get a little taste test, read a smaller contained story just to kind of see whose writing style I jive with. All right, next up, I received another Terry Pratchett novel from a book outlet haul, and this is The Truth by Terry Pratchett. I had asked for some recommendations of Terry Pratchett novels because I'm planning on doing a video at some point this year that is kind of my introduction to Discworld. I'm gonna read 3 books and vlog it, and I'm really excited about that, and this was one of the books that was recommended to me alongside The Hogfather, Guards, and Going Postal. So we'll see if this one makes the cut. This one I'm not entirely sure of if I'll end up getting to all 4 of them or if I'll just keep it to 3. We will find out. Also from that same book outlet haul, I got The Silence of Bones by June Her. I had read Red Palace by June Her in 2022 and enjoyed it. It was kind of like a soft thriller murder mystery K-drama in a book, which was lovely. And I liked it enough that I looked into June Her's work more, and you'll see this is not the only June Her I have on this list. I actually should just pull this because my last book outlet box that just got here today I also got a book of hers, and this is The Forest of Stolen Girls. I don't know much about either of these other than the fact that a lot of people seem to like these even better than they liked Red Palace. So I'm really excited about that. This one is set in 1800 Joseon, Korea, which I'm all about that. This one is set in 1426 Joseon, Korea. So I'm very excited. These are both historical fiction. They're going to be a little bit lighter, quicker reads. Another book that I picked up that's also in the vein of Korean literature is If I Had Your Face by Frances Cha. This one takes place in modern city Seoul, which I'm not sure. I don't read a ton of contemporary fiction. This one caught my eye, and I'm going to definitely give it a shot because, first of all, I absolutely love this cover. And this one is about 4 women, modern Seoul, who are trying to kind of overcome different struggles in the society that they live in. Since I've been reading so much of the historical side of it, I thought I would give this one a try and see how it is. Again, this one I'm going to have to be in a very specific mood for because I don't typically read contemporary. I don't like it that much usually. Every once in a while there is an absolute gem, and I'm hoping that this one might be one of them. Next up, I got another Anthony Ryan. I have like a whole bunch of Anthony Ryan books now, and I'm so... Anthony Ryan is one of the authors that I have been excited to read for so long, and I keep getting distracted by other things, which is a horrible, awful feeling. Because I cannot wait, and I have every anticipation of really loving his work. Blood Song sounds like it's going to be right up my alley. So I picked up The Black Song. Okay, yes, it is the sequel to Wolf's Call, so now I have both of them. And I have another Anthony Ryan coming up in this book haul that I'm even more excited to read now. So Anthony Ryan is going to be on my definitely need to read list. Next up is another Asian lit, and that is Thousand Cranes by Yasunari Kawabata. We are going towards the Japanese side of Asia. And this, I think, I heard that this book was the inspiration, the classic that inspired the modern YA book Six Crimson Cranes, which I got a while ago. I don't know, I've just been curious to read more Asian classics, so this was another one that I saw, and it was referenced in Six Crimson Cranes reviews, I believe, and that's why I picked this one up. We're just going to keep going on the Asian literature train for a little bit here, because I have a bunch of them. I picked up this tiny little middle grade book, The Seesaw Girl by Linda Sue Park, who I believe also wrote Her Name Was Kyoko, which I got in a recent book haul. Again, tiny little book, and I'm excited to check this out. I've been looking for things that I can give my kids to read or read with my kids in the near future, which is one of the reasons why I picked this up to give it a shot. Next up, we have Fugitive Visions by Jane Jung Trenka. This is a memoir of a young woman who was adopted from Korea and then returned to Korea, and her experience going back to her birth land and kind of experiencing the culture is what I got from the blurb of this. I appreciate when I'm able to read a memoir of a adopted child and the unique set of things that they face in life, because it's a very unique situation to be in, and as the child who is adopted, and so I'm very intrigued to read this. I love memoirs. I had a lovely girls' date last weekend with my friend Emily, and we'd never been to a bookstore together despite the fact that we both love books, so we went to Half Price Books up in the Twin Cities in Minnesota, and I picked up Northanger Abbey because it's pretty. That is literally the only reason I picked up this particular edition. But it is also because I am going to be doing a buddy read of this book in the near future with my friends Evie, Patricia, and Kay, who I will link all down in the description box below. We've done 2 buddy reads of 2 other classic books, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and also, oh my gosh, my brain is completely blanking right now. What did we do first? Wuthering Heights, there we go. And Northanger Abbey is our next classic pick. I love it because it's short, and this will actually be my first ever full Jane Austen read. I have tried reading Pride and Prejudice and Sense and Sensibility a couple of times, but it just wasn't the right time or the right headspace for those, and so I appreciate that this is a shorter book and one of her less known stories. I also found, I was so excited about this, so one of the books that I love the most by Brandon Sanderson, probably my favorite book overall, I would say Words of Radiance is up there too, but this book is one that most people don't know and haven't read, and that's a travesty in my opinion, and that is Legion, The Many Lives of Stephen Leeds. I have the omnibus edition, but when I was at Half Price Books, I found this beautiful hardcover edition of one of the 3 mini novellas that make up that omnibus edition. And look at this cover. It's foil. It's beautiful. It has a black cover. I'm here for it. I didn't need this, but I did. You know how that is. All right, the last thing I got at half price with my friend M was Shackled Fates by Tilda Cold Holt. This is book 2 of the Hanged God trilogy, and I had already purchased the first book. Usually it really bothers me when I go to a bookstore and they only have book 2 of something, but this one I saw and right away was all excited because I was like, oh my gosh, a book series that I actually have the first book and not the second. So I grabbed the second one because it was really cheap, and I thought, that's beautiful, and I love these covers. They're very simple, but I really like them a lot. And when I'm in the mood for some Nordic fantasy, I will be picking these up. All right, the next one I picked up, this is a great example of why I need to not watch any of the videos my friends on BookTube make, because it's not good for my wallet and it's not good for my TBR. But Alan from the Library of Alexandria and quite a few other people. I know Charmaine, she's on Instagram as Traveling Through Books. I had her on my channel for a Book Friends chat. And several other people read this book and really, really highly spoke well of it. And that is Silence of the Girls by Pat Barker. I bought it because I watched Alan's review and was like, wow, that sounds like an amazing book. I will try and remember to link Alan's review of this down in the comments, but this one is the story of the Iliad told from the perspective of Briseis, who was Achilles' captive. And it is very heavy. From what I have heard, this is not an easy read. There's a lot of, women of that time were subjected to a lot of horrific things. But I have been told that the way that this book is written is just beautiful and really, really well done. So you got me, Alan. Congratulations. But I'm very excited to read this because this is also a story that the Trojan War and all of that is another part of history that I find absolutely fascinating. All right, next up was another friend recommendation. This is The Curse of Shalion by Lois McMaster Bujold, and this was recommended to me by my friend Andrew D. Meredith. And when I asked a bunch of my friends for book recommendations for the year of 2023, and I'm going to try and get to as many of them as I possibly can, this was the one book that Andrew recommended to me. I anticipate this being very beautiful prose, classic fantasy, of very high quality. That is what I'm expecting. I'm going into this book pretty much blind. I really don't know anything about the author or the story. However, this book should be a really good read, and I'm excited because it is always fun to read things that friends recommend because, like, typically when people know me well enough, they can kind of look through their likes and what they love to read in books and kind of find the overlap and say, okay, I think of my favorite books, this one you might really like too. Next up, I found the trade paperback version of The Bone Hunters, which is book, I don't even know, 6 or 7 in, this is a really heavy book. So The Bone Hunters is one of the last 2 paperbacks, trade paperbacks that I needed for Malazan. Now the only one that I'm missing is Dust of Dreams, which should be much easier to pick up. Erickson and Eslamont, let me move the Kleenex box, basically have their own shelf. All right, next up is another Anthony Ryan book, and this might be the one of his that I am the most excited about, and that is The Pariah by Anthony Ryan. I have been hearing great things about this book, and just honestly, the cover alone tells me that I'm probably gonna love this book. I absolutely love this cover, you guys. This is so good. The contrast and the solitary figure, and it tells me so much about what I'm gonna be getting in this book, and I love it to bits and pieces. All right, next up, I was able to find a hardcover edition of Taipan from the Asian Saga by James Clavell. This is book 2 that comes after Shogun. It's quite a bit smaller than Shogun. I think it's only like 600 pages. But now I have the entire series, although I made a kind of blunder because I bought 3 hardcovers and 2 mass market paperbacks for this series. I know, don't ask. I don't know either. I'll have to find the hardcovers of Gaijin and King Rat at some point, but for now, I do have the hardcover of Taipan. Alright, then the last 3 non-self-pub books that I have received this last couple of weeks is a bunch of historical fiction by Jeff Shara, who is one of the authors of the Gods and Generals, Killer Angels, and Last Full Measure Civil War trilogy, which I love. These were really cheap and they were on Book Outlet and I had a credit and I was like, you know what? I definitely want to read some more Jeff Shara. The Eagle's Claw, this one is the Battle of Midway. This was shortly after the American code breakers were able to crack the Japanese military code and figure out what they were going to do now that they knew what the Japanese were planning. So I anticipate this being a very tense military novel, and these are things, again, that I have to be in the right headspace for, but I do really love a good military historical fiction when I get the chance, and this is, again, an era of history that I am very interested in and fascinated by. So after that is the novel of Pearl Harbor that probably takes place fairly soon before the Eagle's Claw. I don't know if these are in the same, if it's like a series, but this is To Wake the Giant by Jeff Shara, and it's a novel about Pearl Harbor, and that's pretty self-explanatory. I'm guessing that reading this historical event from Jeff Shara's amazing ability to write history in a way that makes it really come to life, and it's very character-driven. I'm really looking forward to reading it from that point of view. And then the last book I picked up by Jeff Shara is another Civil War novel. This is A Chain of Thunder by Jeff Shara, and this one takes place around the siege of Vicksburg, which is one of the major battles within the Civil War, but it is one of the battles in the Civil War that I don't know as much about, because I've studied a lot of Gettysburg, and I've studied a lot of like Antietam and that kind of stuff, Bull Run, because those were all battles that my ancestor was actually fighting in. I'm pretty sure he was I can't remember if he was at Vicksburg or not. I will have to double check that. But Vicksburg, in any case, is a battle of the Civil War that I don't know as much about. All right, now we're going to get into the self-pub section of this book haul. There are 2 books, no, 1 set of books that I was sent graciously by the author, and those are Mike Molman's series trilogy, Protectors of Prytani. And he was very gracious to send me the hardcover editions of his book. The first one is Becoming a Druid, which my husband actually just finished the audiobook of that, so he will be probably posting a review on Goodreads, I would guess. And then the second book is Sins and Sorrows, and wait, did I get that back? No, this is book 1.5, excuse me. And then the second book is To Speak with Elders, and it has a centaur with a double scythe on it. So I'm already intrigued. I'm very excited to get to these, and thank you, Mike, so much for blessing me with 3 hardcovers of your books. I'm always very humbled when authors send me like the really nice versions of their books, because that's just awesome and I really appreciate it. Then a purchase of mine was, I know that Drew Hayes is an author that my friend Andrew from Andrew's Wizardly Reads really likes. And this book, the title alone just had me so there. I was so excited the minute I read this. And that is The Utterly Uninteresting and Unadventurous Tales of Fred the Vampire Accountant, who, from what I understand, is turned into a vampire, and it's like a drag for him. Like, it doesn't change his life all that much, but he kind of gets caught up in some things that he really could do without. And this just sounds like it's gonna be a great time. I cannot wait. There we go. Little drop of blood on there, just very accountant-y looking. I'm here for it. The next one that I got was a Rob Hayes novel. Now, if you saw my last video, or my second to last video, whatever, I did a video on the Mortal Techniques, which is now one of my favorite fantasy series of all time, by Rob Hayes. And so I picked up a couple more of his books because I'm ready to start a new series of his. This one is It Takes a Thief to Catch a Sunrise. Now I'm going to have to check with Rob to make sure that I'm not reading these out of order, because I think there's a series that this is part of that's like 2 different parts and they're separate, but you can read either one. I'm not sure. I need to check with Rob to make sure I'm not reading anything out of order, because that's important. But regardless, I'm just happy to have more Rob Hayes on my shelf, so I'm not mad about it. And speaking of covers and Rob J. Hayes and all of that, I invested in the hardcover edition of the first book of The War Eternal, which is Along the Razor's Edge by Rob Hayes, and this is a dark, dark coming-of-age anti-hero protagonist, all of the things that are checking all of the boxes. So I'm really looking forward to reading this, and I kind of jumped the gun a little bit because I haven't read this yet, but these hardcovers are just way too beautiful for their own good, so I had to get the first one to put it on my shelf. Next up, I picked up In the Shadow of Ruin by Toni DiBaggio. This is another book that I heard Charmaine talk about and she was reading recently, and it sounded really good. So this is African low fantasy, which I'm already sold on that. So it looks like this is kind of surrounding a war for a throne from multiple factions, and I'm very excited to read this. I've heard great things about Toni's writing. So, very much looking forward to checking that out, and let me see if I can get you guys the cover. And last but not least, this is the last item on my book haul, and this hurts me, you guys. This, like, legitimately hurts me. So, Dido Abbott wrote a book called Debunked, and it's kind of, sort of towards the Terry Pratchett end of things, but with a lot of other things mixed in. It looks amazing. Dido's a hilarious and really cool guy. And I bought the copy of this book, and look how he packaged it, you guys. Like, there's a note on the back that says Property of St. Jude's Debunking Society, and it's got a wax seal with all of these, like, story-relevant stamps and everything else. I have had this sitting on my bookshelf for, like, 2 weeks because I don't want to open it. I can't wait to read this book, but I can't. Look at how beautiful this is. And so I thought I would open it on camera. I just needed some moral support, and I knew you guys would be there for me. So here goes nothing. This is literally going to hurt me to open this amazing packaging. The note is actually a map, you guys. Packaging on point. All right, this is a very cool map, and I love it's all like aged and has like wrinkles, like it's actually been used and in somebody's pocket for like, oh, I just love this. This is so cool. Oh my gosh, this just is hurting my soul to ruin this packaging. You know what? I should have grabbed a scissors is what I should have done. I'm gonna grab a scissors. I'm going to cut the twine. Oh, the pain. Okay. How do I... You know, I probably didn't even need to do that. Well, yeah, it's kind of... I don't know if I can get the book out without... Okay. I think we got it. I mean, it could be worse. I was able to save the wax seal, which is exciting. I'll just have to cry about the rest of it. You know it's good packaging when I haven't been able to bring myself to open the book for 2 weeks. So, congratulations, Dido. Although, you might want to be careful with that, because if you make your packaging too good, people won't want to open it for the book inside, which is even more glorious, but it just, I needed a moment. All right, let's all appreciate this cover. This looks so cool. This just looks so cool. Also, if you are anywhere on Twitter, you can go to Dido's Twitter, and he and his dad are actually making this airship. so that's cool. Like they're making a small version of it. I'm excited. I don't know hardly anything about this, and other than it's an adventure story with a little bit of whimsical humor and fun. My friend Andrew at Andrew's Wiz Reads just read this and really enjoyed it. Well, I've officially done it, you guys. I've officially opened this book and it looks amazing and I'm really excited to read it. If anyone sees me buying a book that isn't like a random one-off, please come yell at me, feel free. I will be 80 before I'm able to read all the books I have on my shelves. But thank you to everyone for watching. I hope that you have been getting some great books recently. If you're book shopping, if you have gotten some cool finds lately, definitely drop them down in the comments and tell me about them because I want to know. And I hope you're having a great reading week. Thank you so much for supporting my channel. If you're interested in being a patron, definitely go check that out in the link below. I have multiple tiers, do a lot of backstage about my writing process and other things, exclusive Discord, all of that. So, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.